You better fix your brother. Dad barked at me after I nearly died, but I was done parenting their kids while battling kidney failure alone. Hello everyone, I am a 40-year-old male from a large family. I'm the second oldest of 9 children. My older sister Lena is only a year older than me. There is a 6-year gap between me and my next sibling, and my mother had children every 2 to 3 years. Since Lena and I were the oldest, we were constantly tasked with looking after the younger children and doing housework. In fact, my parents and other adults frequently referred to us as Lena, OP, and the kids, as if Lena and I were not considered children. It's like if we were 2 other individuals living in the house. We were homeschooled, so we spent all of our time at home. Part of my job entailed getting up, making breakfast for the kids, and getting them started with their school or activities before beginning my own schooling. Lena slept in since she was a night owl, and it was her responsibility to help with the baby at night because there was always one. Lena and I did the majority of the household tasks. We alternated between cleaning the kitchen and doing the laundry, which was rather extensive. I did all the guys' stuff like mowing the lawn and putting out the garbage. As I became older, I delegated some of these responsibilities to my younger brothers, but it was still my obligation to make sure they were completed. When I was old enough to drive, I would conduct errands and transport the kids around. I can't tell you how many times I've taken the kids to playdates or doctor's appointments. I'd often snuggle the youngsters into bed and tell them stories. These things seemed natural to me at the time, but in retrospect, I felt more like a second father to the kids than a sibling. As teenagers, Lena and I had a lot of flexibility to hang out with our friends if we finished our tasks. We did not have cell phones back then. If we wanted to go out, we would just tell our parents, and they didn't mind as long as we returned by the next morning. I moved out when I was 20, but I still spent a lot of time with my parents, and one of my younger siblings was virtually always there at my home. Cal, one of my brothers, has basically lived with me since he was 14 years old because he and our mother did not get along. Cal was 17 years old when he was involved in a car accident and called me rather than his father because I was the one who handled such situations. Throughout this period, my parents frequently mentioned how vital it was for Lena and I to assist with the children because they were so busy with their ministry. I can't remember how many times I had to stop what I was doing to care for anything, because mom or dad were counseling someone. Sorry, I think I'm rambling. I hope I have accurately described my childhood. Let us go forward. I hadn't dated much, but when I was 25, I met and began dating Mira. We fell in love quickly and were married less than a year later. My younger siblings adore Mira. She is an excellent cook and hostess. Our house became a popular hangout. My younger siblings began calling her Mama Mira, which they still do to this day. We have now been married for 15 years and have 2 children of our own. Mira was disliked by both my mother and Lena. Lena and Mira get along well now, but Mira and my mother do not. I've never understood why, but I believe I finally figured it out. It's because they believe Mira has taken me away. As Mira and I focused on our relationship and began a family, I spent less and less time caring for my parents. My father initially liked Mira, but their relationship has worsened in recent years. Throughout the years, my father has made statements to me about fulfilling my responsibilities. One day he phoned me about one of the younger kids who had gotten into a disagreement with my mom and said, "You better get your brother and change his attitude. It's not okay how he treated your mom, and you are going to make him apologize." Mira and I established some ground rules with my parents a few years ago, stating that we would not raise or discipline their children. My siblings are always welcome in our home, but we will no longer allow my parents to use us to straighten them up. My parents haven't taken it well. Mira damaged her foot around a year ago and was unable to walk for quite some time. Just as she was getting well, I was diagnosed with kidney disease, which progressed to kidney failure. I've undergone multiple operations, with another one scheduled in a few weeks. It's been a tough year. During this period, my parents have not only refused to help, but have intentionally made things more difficult for us, such as agreeing to help with our children but then canceling at the last minute, generally due to a ministry-related commitment. My sister-in-law, who lives in another state, recently gave birth, and my mother has been staying with her and assisting her for the past 6 weeks. My SIL has described mom as a godsend and a great person. My father has gone to help every weekend. This upsets me because my mother refused to allow us a single night to care for our youngest when he was born. Anyway, I apologize for making this post longer than I intended. I needed to get some things off my chest. This weekend I was telling another sister that I don't understand why mom and dad don't treat me like the other kids, even Lena. It's as if I'm not one of their children, and it now dawned on me that they blame me for marrying and starting my own family while abandoning them to raise their own children. Part of me is relieved to now understand why they treat me the way they do, and part of me is saddened. I'm nervous about this approaching surgery, and I wish I had a parent to talk to about it, but I don't feel like I have any parents, only people with whom I co-parented my siblings. Update 1. I talked to my wife Mira about it last night. I said something along the lines of, I've realized that my parents resent me for starting my own family and not helping them as much, and that is why they treat me so differently, and I think you've been trying to gently tell me this for years, but I was too dense to get it. We were sitting in the bed at the time, and she leaned over and patted my head and said, "You are so beautiful." I laughed for maybe 10 minutes. It was an excellent emotional release. Many of you mentioned how lovely she sounds, and she truly is. I can't convey how much I adore her. About Lena. My older sister Lena married and started a family roughly 2 years after I did. Lena and I had a falling out and didn't communicate for several years, but we're fine now, just not particularly close. Our disagreement was mostly religious in nature. She is highly religious, like my parents, although I am not. I am religious, and we go to church, but it is not our entire lives, as it is for my parents and Lena. Younger siblings. The youngest is 22, so they're all grown-ups now. The second to youngest went away several years ago, leaving 8 of us. I'm really close to all of my younger siblings. They continue to visit my home on a regular basis, and they are all wonderful aunts and uncles to my children. All of them, including Lena, are dissatisfied with how my parents have treated me over the past year. Help with my kids. While I am upset at my parents for not helping, I do not require their assistance. Mira and I have close pals, and we also have siblings that help. Mira's parents live far away, but they help whenever they can. We are perfectly okay and feel very blessed and loved because of all the aid we have gotten. Therapy. Part of my renal treatment plan includes seeing a therapist, and I adore her. She has been really helpful in teaching me how to live with an illness. I'm not sure whether she's the best person to talk to about my parents, but I'll ask her and see if she can recommend someone. If not, I'll wait until after my surgery to bring it up because I need to focus on that right now. Setting boundaries. When I say my parents won't assist, I don't mean they won't, but rather that they volunteer to help, and then either bail at the last minute or change the plan so drastically that Mira and I are stressed out. Mira was sick a few months back, and my mother offered to take up our kids from school. It's a long story, but she kept altering things and complicating matters, and my youngest was left alone for a short period of time, which worried him. After that, I had a confrontational conversation with my parents, telling them how disgusted I was in them and how I wanted to focus on my health, and they were making it worse. I told them they could not take my children anywhere. They are not allowed to merely stop by my house, and they are not even permitted to offer to assist, because my mother will not take no for an answer and will nag until she wears me out. My parents were upset about this, but all 7 of my siblings rallied with me, and my parents have so far respected that. Going no contact. Many people suggested no contact. I do not want that. Despite the fact that my parents were not terrific parents, I still adore them. My children adore them, and I don't want to take that away. When they arrive they make excellent grandparents. I don't think my parents are terrible people. I believe they had a goal of having a large family and a large ministry, but they underestimated the duties they imposed on Lena and me. I've spoken to them before about how it was wrong that they put so much pressure on us as children, and they've apologized. Putting my parents on blast in their church, several individuals suggested going to their church and telling them how I was treated. You do not understand this church. They would commend my parents for prioritizing God and the ministry over all else. These really religious folks are insane. I think that's it for now. My operation is in less than 2 weeks, so I'll focus on that. I'm going to put this conversation with my parents on hold for the time being, and then I'll determine what, if anything, to do. Thank you again for your comments. It's truly helped me get through some emotions. Update 2. Thank you to everyone who has contracted out to wish me a speedy recovery. My operation was last week, and things are doing better than predicted. All of the surgeries and treatments I've had in the last year have felt like they were just keeping me alive. But with this surgery and kidney transplant, I feel like I'm working toward resuming my normal life. It's been difficult and painful, but I expected it to be worse, so I can't complain at all. Mira is always complaining that she doesn't receive enough credit for her comedic abilities, so the fact that so many of you laughed when she said I was lovely made her happy. She stated, "I like these Reddit people." This entire post began while I was having a conversation with one of my sisters. I'll call her Six since I can't keep coming up with names, and she's following this thread and will be offended if I call her that. Six had an argument with our parents, and I was telling her that Mira and I had recently established firm limits with them and encouraged her to do the same. So she did, and they didn't take it well. This prompted multiple conversations with other siblings, and both 5 and 9 agreed to establish some boundaries. This has also prompted other siblings to approach our parents about how they have treated me over the previous year while I was sick. The day before my operation, Lena, the oldest, called to check on me, and we ended up talking about our upbringing. We had not been in touch in some years. However, I believe we bonded on this call. It was interesting to chat to her as an adult and relive some experiences. She has been in therapy for a few years, and she claims that her therapist will occasionally stop her and say, "Lena, you just casually rolled through some messed up stuff. We need to stop and unpack this." For a long time, I blamed her for how she treated me when we were younger, but I'm finally realizing that she was just a kid trying to survive. I have much more grace for her now. We've been messaging a lot these past few weeks. My parents did come to see me after the surgery, but we didn't discuss any family turmoil. My siblings have stated that they are having difficulty accepting these new limitations. I hope that one day they wake up and realize that all 8 of their children are disappointed in them, and that they strive to be better people, but I'm not holding my breath. They appear to be placing all of the blame, as they usually do. This is just an attack by the devil. Mira and I determined that in the future, we will maintain low touch with strong limits. With such a huge family, going no contact would be difficult and would result in a number of unpleasant situations in which we would still need to visit them. We've also talked to our children, and both have shown a desire to establish a relationship with their grandparents. While I don't expect my parents to change, I am confident they will accept our boundaries. My attitude about them has likewise shifted. I no longer feel as if I owe them anything. We will maintain our contact with them because it is best for my family, not because they deserve it. Finally, I was recommended to a family therapist and have an appointment scheduled for next month. Update 3. I've tried several times to write an update, but I either can't find the words or ramble on for 10 pages about my health. I'm going to push through, and I hope this makes sense. In May 2023, shortly after writing my first post, I underwent a kidney transplant. Recovering has been the primary focus of my life, but it is not the purpose of my report, so I will try to keep this section brief. Things were excellent right after the transplant, and I recovered considerably faster than expected. Then I had a dumb illness, which caused some tiny setbacks that eventually led to a larger setback, and my body began to reject the replacement kidney. It was not a good period, and I spent the holidays of last year, 2024, in and out of the hospital receiving various therapies. The therapies were difficult, but they performed their work. My body currently shows no evidence of rejection, and the virus is under control. Maintaining my health and new kidney will be a lifelong journey, but for the time being, everything is stable, and I'm feeling better than I have since before falling sick in 2023. I had mentioned how my older sister Lena and I hadn't spoken in years, and when we eventually did, we kept our distance. She had contacted me after my first post, when I was beginning to work through some issues, and we discussed how we were raised. We both had lately learned the term parentification, and we discussed it. We started communicating more after trauma bonding, which was a new phrase for me. Her family ended up coming to town late in 2023 and staying for a few weeks, giving us ample opportunity to converse and interact. I had harshly condemned her for things she had done as a child, but I eventually realized she was just a youngster who was under a lot of strain, forced to raise a bunch of kids, and she was desperate for some control in her life, which happened to be me. There were many tears and apologies on both sides, since I had not always been kind to her. We've grown closer than we've ever been, and we talk a couple of times every month. My family will be visiting her folks this summer. Our children are thrilled, as they have grown close as well. I'm not sure how to handle the following bit concerning my parents. My initial post was spurred by some conflict between my parents and various siblings, including how my parents had been unhelpful when I was coping with my kidney troubles. We all banded together and established strict limits with our parents, which they did not appreciate. At first, someone observed, "It sounds like you and your siblings are bullying your parents into being better people," which may be the best way to characterize what occurred. Just before my operation, I had a very direct chat with my folks. I had prepared by writing down the essential points I wanted to say. I wasn't angry when we talked. I merely gave multiple examples of how they had not only failed to help, but also made things more difficult for my family when I was sick. I basically informed them that I didn't need or want their support since I didn't trust them. Something about that, as well as the fact that all of my siblings were together, seemed to click with my father. He didn't say much at the moment, but he didn't defend himself or try to deflect criticism. Over the next 6 months they would check in by text once a week. If we were feeling up to it, I would encourage them to stop over, which they did several times. They offered to deliver a supper, and we accepted. They didn't push when I wasn't feeling it. This was all part of the boundaries I had established, which they respected. Over the course of the year, many things began to change. Honestly, I believe someone showed them my post. My siblings were all aware of it, and I believe that everyone who commented calling them out had an impact, so thank you to everyone. They left their church, which shocked all of us. Mom phoned numerous siblings and asked for specific examples of how she had let them down, then listened without defending or deflecting. The last of the younger siblings moved out on their own, which significantly altered the dynamics of their relationship. I'm not sure when or why it happened, but things appear to have improved during 2023. My parents began spending more time with my children and attending events. I noticed they were making an effort and spoke with them, telling them that if they truly wanted to connect, they needed to find things my kids like and figure out how to engage. I told them they couldn't just plan something they wanted to do and expect my children to go along. My father discovered a hobby that my oldest was interested in, and they have gone down a rabbit hole with it. My mother and youngest discovered a place they both enjoy, and they went there together. It isn't ideal, but they appear to be forming a healthy relationship. My wife and I remain cautious, but optimistic. In terms of my relationship with them, I've simply become emotionally disengaged. As a teenager, I read Ender's Game and identified with Ender in the way the adults were always setting him up so that he knew he would never have backup. He had to win on his own, or perish trying. I felt as if I had no backup or adult support throughout the majority of my life. Just me, and then my wife. I've created my own support system among my peers, and that's sufficient. I'm delighted my kids now have decent grandparents, but I'll never have a meaningful chat with my parents about what's going on with me. On difficult days I have my wife and a few close friends, and I consider myself extremely fortunate because this is more than many people have. Well, I'll stop there before I start rambling.